Hey, what is up everybody? So finally today, I will be talking about my updated build for Double Swing Barbarian. It's only one shout build, yes, one shout, and surprise, surprise, it is stronger than 3 shouts, which I didn't find out until later on. So big shout out to Power of Speed and other theory crafting Barbarian. So basically this build revolves around Unstoppable, 24/7 Unstoppable, which is the key thing in high Nightmare dungeons. Unstoppable is immunity to CC, so you will not be able to, get stuck in the CC and die, like you have seen most players die to. The rotation here is to put stun on the target with the ground stomp, and then just kill the target while it's stunned, which is no problem because our damage is really high. I had to redo my build yesterday because we were getting one shot sometimes if we didn't have Fortify up, and we didn't have another Fortify builder, so I changed some things in Paragon Board. I got a new item from vendor, so please everybody keep checking vendors every hour when they reset because they have some insane items. I got really good BIS rolls, BIS. So that icon over my head right now, that means you're unstoppable, so immune to CC. You do not want to use them at the same time, which I just did. I still struggle with that because I don't get used to it pretty much, or like it's a bad habit. But you want to rotate it so you don't then get stuck in the CC. In this run, I believe I died once because of that mistake. I did not have a skill up, and because of the I was stuck in a root and there was an explosion next to me. I died to that, sadly. I wasn't full HP though, so maybe if I was full HP, that could be a different. But despite putting a lot of things into defensives and damage reduction, our damage is still really high. You will see later on the bosses as well. You can see like we're hitting for millions, and the attack speed is really insane because we have an attack speed aspect on our two-hander. There are things to make your damage higher, but that's up for testing. I don't have the aspects to try it, to change it, but I'll talk about it later on. The one thing that's very weird is ground stomp doesn't really proc stun. Most of the times what it does is it knocks the mobs down and no stun. So which means our 200 aspect retribution doesn't activate, so you deal less damage. But once they're knocked down, you just apply the stun from concussion passive from Barbarian skill tree, so it's fine. Also, great thing with this build, it's heavily revolving around stuns, and as you can see, the stagger bar on the boss is filled up very fast. And once it's there, the blue bar, we just smash our life away with double swing. You can see a full refund on double swing. I'll show you how and why, despite running Unbridled Rage, which makes your core skill more expensive. Funny thing though with these nightmare dungeons, because bosses are a joke compared to elites. But it is what it is. So this was level 71 nightmare dungeon. We would probably be able to push higher because, as you can see, it wasn't that hard. And I don't even have leveled up glyphs, as you can see here, so I need to work on that. But we will be probably able to run 80s, no problem. But straight to business, right? We go first over the skill tree for Barbarian. We go lunging strike with berserking here. That's our source for berserk. So 24/7 berserk, why not? 1.5 seconds. I do have some durations for berserk, so it goes hand in hand. The full maxed out double swing. Great thing with double swing is this passive. It gets you full refund if you don't run Unbridled. 25 Fury. You have always stun or the mobs knocked down because of ground stone, whatever. And non-stop vulnerable for this build, which is what you're looking for. In high level nightmare dungeons, you need to make enemies vulnerable so they die quicker. It's a huge damage increase. And you can buff this condition further from passives. You'll see in a second. Maxed out ground stomp for cooldown. You could probably put some points in Rallying Cry for more fury, but I like the cooldown on this ground stomp. Cooldown reduction for ultimate skill. So once you have a lot of mobs around you, you just have an insane cooldown reduction on the Wrath of the Berserker. Max HP pairs really well with our Iron Skin and Barrier. Once again, we get this for the unstoppable aspect on our gear. I go with Fortify here. I went with Heal before, but it's not as good. Here we go with Fury Generation for Rallying Cry. This one is very weak Fortify. It's not worth it all. Now, the reason we go for Tough as Nails, we don't look at Outbursts, we don't need that. But the reason we go for Tough as Nails is to make distant enemies that hit you bleed. And we have a damage reduction from bleeding enemies right here, 43%. So even if you cannot reach them, they will still deal less damage to you. Important thing, important stuff. Next up, we got maxed out aggressive resistance for more damage reduction and prolific fury for generation. If you get a lot of attack speed, you can combine dual lunging strike to dual wield, insane generation. We go with Pit Fighter and No Mercy, so this is both offensive and defensive buffs, affixes, whatever. Now, increase crit damage to slowed enemies. Our enemies are non-stop slowed thanks to our hamstring. Your bleeding effects slow enemies, and we put bleeding on targets thanks to Berserk Ripping, and once again, the Tough as Nails passive. We go with a defensive stance. Now, if you don't struggle with surviving, you can definitely put these points into counter-offensive. You will deal more damage. Our 45 generation is pretty good with Warbringer passive from Paragon Board. We go with Duelist for attack speed. Attack speed is a great multiplier for damage, for DPS, for, skills. Valop here, I might put the points from damage reduction and put it in here actually for more damage. 5% is pretty good. Concussion, lucky hit. This is great stun. Once again, another source for stun. We have 3 sources for stun. We have Ground Stomp, we have Concussion, we have Anemia aspect. That's why we want to have lucky hit on our gloves. Now, I run with 2 one-handers as a dual wield because I believe this lucky hit applies to each hammer, each weapon. I was running sword and hammer before for the expertise proc, for the buffs from that, but I think this is better. Much better. We have the Berserker fully upgraded and Unbridled Rage for more damage. This is allowing us to hit for millions. Now, if you're struggling with Fury, you don't have the Fury cost reduction on items, on the boots and amulet, or resource generation on rings. Those are very key things to have for this build, or overall for any Barbarian build. You can run Unconstrained. This is pretty good. Pairs well with this Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. So what this thing does, it increases attack power, damage bonus attack power, but I reached 32,000 attack power, but the damage increase was very underwhelming. I was pretty disappointed. Despite seeing a high number here, it was not that good. Now Paragon Board, we go with Exploit Glyph. This is still, I got like 3 glyphs at level 15, so I still haven't leveled them up, so it's gonna be even higher. Glyphs give you insane amount of power. So the damage will be much higher, chat. Don't worry. Don't worry. So here we go left side with max HP armor. Armor is great damage mitigation and better than resistances. You can go with right side for offensive side and defensive max HP if you feel like it. Next up, the first board, we have Decimator. Just for the passive here, full vulnerable. Vulnerable is your best offensive affix. You want to focus on vulnerable, crit damage, core skill damage. And crit chance, obviously. But vulnerable, great here. This one is amazing, gives you so much vulnerable and armor too. That's why we picked all these passives here. Second glyph, we go with ambidextrous. This is increasing damage while wielding one-handed weapons, but mainly bonus to magic nodes. And once this is level 15, it's gonna have another radius. It's gonna reach up to these nodes. So this is gonna buff up vulnerable damage. This is up to 200% bonus to magic nodes at level 15, 16, 17, something like that. But this goes up to level 21. So this will be much higher than that. Damage reduction for vulnerable enemies. This might be for exploit. So those distant enemies will get vulnerable and this will apply to them as well. Next up, we have Blood Rage for Berserk duration. I went with this. Tried out some resistances here, but it's a joke. This is not 24% after all. It's like 3% at max in your character sheet. Next glyph, we go with Territorial. Amazing damage reduction and damage increase to close enemies. This is level 15, so it can go much higher. More damage mitigation, more damage to bleeding enemies. As you can see here, it's 43.6%. Next up, we have Carnage. Great attack speed, once again. Higher DPS because it's faster attacks. More damage to elites and berserking. The glyph we went here with is Undaunted. This is just level 1, so this is pretty weak now, but it will get higher. Damage reduction, more damage. There is one glyph I want to go with, and it's this one. You deal more damage while healthy. This ramps up to over 100% increased damage while healthy. So I might switch that with some of these two. I think I will switch that with this one. We'll see though. We'll see. It's up for testing. Up here we have our flawless technique. We just go for these nodes here because this amazing bonus to damage. It's probably the best board for damage increase. So crit damage if you meet the requirements. And another one here, 30%. So the 60% damage, crit damage increase. Together with these passives here. It goes hand in hand. Insane. Insane. So this is what you go for in this board. And last time we go for Warbringer, you could probably go for this one earlier because this is very important. This is our 45 generation. I didn't go with this one earlier on. I just went with 45 aspect. There was no need for this one, but it's much better. Makes you survive. Like, this is a better builder, especially with this passive that gives you 45 generation. Once resistances get reworked or buffed, we might go rotate the board and go with max HP and 5 resistance, but this is what we are working with. This was the Paragon Board and skill points. Now we go over the gear. We go one by one. So first, the headpiece, I go with the shared misery aspect. And once you hit the CC enemy, it spreads around. Now ground stop is a pretty good area, so it can spread even more. Now we get concussion stun, we get anemia stun here. Direct damage against bleeding enemies has a chance to stun them. Goes well with Berserk Ripping Bleed. There you go, the combination. You can imagine. The affixes to look for on headpiece is max HP, total armor, cooldown reduction, especially cooldown reduction. I went with Dex, or I wanted Dex because of the Paragon Board. So that's amazing. Chest piece, whoa, this is an absolute BIS from a vendor. I got it from, vendor, so keep an eye on those every hour. Damage reduction, wherever you can get damage reduction, go for it. Endgame is all about surviving, not damage. Shadow resistance, I got that. It's great because my shadow resistance was the lowest one. It was 23%, now it's about 40%. I rolled, it was very expensive. I rolled damage reduction to enemies that are bleeding, from enemies that are bleeding. I rolled it max roll on my like 10th roll, which is like 4.5 million each roll, so it was pretty expensive. But I'm not mad about that. We won with Iron Skin that gives us unstoppable and damage reduction, max roll. On the gloves, this is another BIS. We won an anemia. I'm still missing 2% there. Lucky hit chance to further increase anemia and shared misery and concussion from the board. You want attack speed, crit chance, lucky hit, and double swing. Hands, total armor, and more damage reductions. Perfect combination with the chest piece. I could probably get more percentage armor instead of shadow resistance, but I'm reaching like, with disobedience on my amulet, I'm reaching easily 12,000 armor if it all stacks. Also, Berserk Ripping is important because it helps you increase the disobedience every tick. Very important. We go with basic skill damage reduction. I didn't run that until yesterday. When I changed it, game changing. Game changing in the high Nightmare Dungeons, 100%. The boots here, the key thing for this build, that's what makes it kind of broken. While you're unstoppable, your movement speed increase, but you move freely through enemies, which means you cannot die while being body blocked. That's what most people die to. And we have non-stop unstoppable, so there is no way you could die to body block if you rotate your first 3 skills. Berserk duration, pretty good thing, 3%. Damage reduction while injured from 1 item, 41%. Really crazy. All stats for Paragon Board. I like this implicit attacks reduce evades cooldown by seconds. It makes great for in and out gameplay, just like the burger. And Fury cost reduction, max roll, that's what I'm looking for. This is the key thing. Fury cost reduction, cooldown reduction, and resource generation. Those 3 you need to look for this build, or like overall any bar build actually. And then Berserk duration helps too. Our 2-ender, we go with accelerating for attack speed. I know most people would put limitless rage. We have that on the rank, but I like attack speed. Makes us get faster Fury generation, makes us proc faster Berserk from lunging strike, and overall disobedience aspect as well. It just goes hand in hand. And also, faster attacks goes for higher or like faster, damage per second. So core skill, vulnerable, crit damage is the 3 you want to look for. The 4th one would be great, like damage to close enemies will be good. But strength gives us skill damage and also armor, so why not? We could roll higher. Core skill is pretty low roll, crit damage as well. So there's still improvements for a lot of damage increase, a lot. Our ender 2-ender, so 2-enders are our stat sticks. We don't use those, so you need only to look for the stats. Of course, the more item power, the higher roll it can get, but it is what it is. I went with all stats once again for Paragon Board. Vulnerable, close damage, crit damage. I'm missing the core skill, sadly. But Retribution, hands down the best aspect for this build, since we have a lot of stunts, as you can see. Round Stomp is 1 stun, concussion from skill tree. We get anemia under stun source, so stun in Nightmare Dungeons is key, not only for mobs, trash packs, but also bosses, because it builds up very fast the stagger bar. And stagger bar means boss doesn't attack. It's in condition where it acts like it's CC'd, so any affixes that give you damage to CC'd or stunned, slowed, whatever applies to that. So 80% is huge. So while elites are stunned, you will be definitely able to kill them before the stun wears off, definitely. Unless there is another in your group that applies CC as well, then mobs get unstoppable quicker, faster, which means Retribution will be hard to proc. That's why solo runs are just the best in Nightmare Dungeons, surprisingly. One-handers here, I am missing the affixes. They are not min-max, they just have high item power. This one is not that bad, but damage to bleeding could be changed to crit damage or core skill. That would be great. Strength, not that important. We could get that we could get in something else instead of that. Berserk Ripping max roll. My one-hander, another one here is the Edge Master. Finally, they enabled these two aspects. That's why you did not see the video from me, because these two were disabled. Crit damage, damage to slowed core skill, and the lucky hit is absolutely useless. Damage to slowed could be changed to something else, like once again vulnerable, but it is what it is. We go with green gems because they give you crit strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Now the rings here are resource generation, crit chance, those two you are looking for the most. And then it's vulnerable damage or crit damage and damage to close enemies. You could go for max HP instead of damage to close for more survivability, but we have limitless rage. I don't have any aspect that gives us fury, so fury per second while berserking will be good, or you just put attack speed from basic skill to have faster fury generation. Another ring here is the Bold Chieftain. Even with one show, this is still mandatory to have, because it's up to 6 seconds if you have more mobs around you for the rallying cry. Important. This is pretty much a god roll ring. Crit chance, vulnerable, crit damage, pretty high rolls. Resource generation, same story. Amulet here. I got this lately as an upgrade, so damage reduction, once again. Cooldown reduction of fury cost. Now, I rolled really good rolls on fury cost. I need more cooldown reduction because that adds a lot. If I get like 14%, those 4% will add 1 second as cooldown reduction on the rallying cry. Very good. Disobedience on armor to increase further the effect of the aspect. On amulets, a 50% effect increase on aspects, and on 200s is 100%. But to have base roll, I would probably change movement speed to damage reduction or damage reduction from bleeding enemies. I would probably want that, because we are very mobile thanks to our Ghostwalker aspect, thanks to our Berserk effect, thanks to our Wrath of the Berserker lunging strike, which is like a charge. So we could probably change that. But the gems, we are looking for skulls in jewelry for armor, because that's the best damage mitigator. Weapons, once again, green gems, crit damage to vulnerable enemies. This build has non-stop vulnerability. And then armor, I went with damage reduction from dots, over time, damage over time reduction. So with this, we have damage reduction from every single source in the game. You cannot die to the poison puddles or AoE, just AoEs right on the ground. That's what makes you die real quick. So these are the damage reductions. So this will get increased from the Paragon point, from the Paragon glyph, as you could see before. From close enemies, and then bleeding, injured, fortified, classic damage reduction. Also mitigation, or like diminishing return, starts from around 40%. So let's say this one is not applied to its full potential. When it comes to Consumables, you want to look for a couple of the potions that are really hard to get. I believe these are only from Helltides. So expertise is amazing for reducing the cost of the resources. Lucky hit is probably the best, since we rely a lot on lucky hits here from the aspects and the passive concussion. Maximum resource, not that bad. Crit strike, crit damage. When it comes to unique items, right? Rage of Harrogath is the chess piece that is amazing, would be amazing. Sadly, it doesn't work. Berserk Ripping should work with Rage of Harrogath, the passive. Rage of Harrogath makes your cooldowns get reduced if you kill a bleeding enemy. Sadly, you apply bleed here, you kill enemies, it doesn't work. The only bleed that works is not even a two-handed sword. It does not even work with this. The only bleed effect that works with Rage of Argath is lunging strike up top, which we would lose berserking, and it's very important, right? We have too many buffs that rely on berserk, so we don't use that. Now, another thing is Ramaladni offhand sword, but the damage increase from the sword, you know, the affixes on the sword are not that bad, but it only takes account into your max fury. So you would need to get max fury on every single piece on items, which takes away affix from very important affixes and very important bonuses. I don't think it's worth. Maces are just much better. And I believe this was it. If I missed anything, let me know in the comment section down below. When it comes to, by the way, armor sigils, you wanna avoid the one that has the shadow damage that follows you and then bursts or pops. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Breakers, burning, lightning storm. That one is fine if you are going solo. Group is pretty rough. Death pulse. That's not the one. Is this the stone? I don't think I have that. Blood blister. You gotta take a look at these. Always on the map, minimap. You gotta take a look. Keep an eye on that minimap. You could see it in the first footage at the beginning of this video. We're running that affix on the nightmare dungeon. Blood blister again, death pulse. I probably missed it. Maybe it was there, I probably missed it. But yeah. Maybe I'm blind. Maybe my eyes don't work. I was two tries for this video. I got a phone call in the middle of the video, so that was down the drain. But yeah, chat, if you, everybody, I keep calling you chat because we are live streaming every day for many hours because the grind is real. I'm really addicted to this game. But I will also have this build on diablobuilds.com, so that will be in the comment section pinned there. But I would love to thank you all for watching. Hopefully this was a great tips, or you get some inspirations. And you know it, as always, keep slaying. I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy and peace.